In this presentation, you will learn about Marxist anthropology. Marxism is an economic interpretation of history based primarily on the works of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Marxist thought is considered to be revolutionary in nature as the central argument is to understand capitalism in order to overthrow it. Marx's work on Capital and the Communist Manifesto discusses in length the rationale for the development of capitalism and the need to move towards communism. Taking a materialistic and historical approach, Marx analyzes four central points. These are as follows. First, the physical reality of people. Second, the organization of social relations. Third, the value of the historical context of development. And fourth, the human nature of continuous praxis. The anthropological influence on the Marxist theory was first noticed in the work of Engels. Louis Henry Morgan had taken a materialist perspective to understand evolution of societies. This led Marx to make extensive notes on ancient society, which Engels later expanded into the origin of the family, private property, and the state in light of the investigations of Louis H. Morgan. Both Marx and Engels were influenced by L. H. Morgan and his model of social evolution based on material concerns. Morgan observed that societies moved from more primitive to more civilized stages of development. The Marxist version of the same was that societies transitioned from primitive communism through ancient slave trade, feudalism, and capitalism to communism. These stages are understood in terms of the modes of production which are dominant in each stage. Marx did not see these stages as progressive steps that every culture must progress through, but as being the development of historically contingent communities and their modes of production. The modes of production form the base or infrastructure of a society. This base determines the superstructure, government, laws, courts, legal and political apparatus, and both determine the ideology, including philosophies, religions, and the ideals prevailing in a society at any time. Class struggle is the biggest factor of social change. It is inevitable that change will occur and that the classes will reorganize and realign themselves. However, the ruling classes will use any means at their disposal to maintain the status quo. They have a vested interest in maintaining their power and will resist change at any cost. A key tool of the ruling classes is the elaboration of mystification in ideology, which results in the false consciousness of the lower class. Social evolution can be slowed but not stopped. Marxist anthropology is typically understood as a phase within the history of Euro American anthropology. In the 1960s, the discipline of anthropology was dominated by functionalist and structural functionalist approaches. Sherry Ortner's essay on the theory in anthropology since the 60s describes how Marxism emerged as a disruptive theoretical force, creating a dent in the popularity of functionalism and structuralism perspectives. Marxist anthropology is an anthropological theory used to study different cultures around the world. The approach focuses on the ways material factors cause social transformation and social change. This comprises the study of the forces of production and their relationship to social organization. The basic premise is that economic relationships are based on power, leading ultimately to class struggle. This approach studies social class, class conflict, economics, production and distribution, and their relationship to social transformation within a community. The theories of Marx and Engels were published in the 19th century, yet the anthropological insights into peasant life were conducted only after the Second World War. Moore, in his work on Visions of Culture, An Introduction to Anthropological Theories and Theorists, argues that peasants are important to Marxist anthropologists because they are the backbone of the agrarian economy and community. To cite an example, the study of peasants in Puerto Rico by anthropologist Eric Wolff, where he found there are three significant modes of production. One mode of production is the capitalist mode. Wolff identified three features of the capitalist mode of production. First, that capitalists control the means of production. Second, that laborers must therefore sell labor to capitalists. And third, this results in a spiral of capital accumulation, exploitation of labor, and reorganization of production. As a result, society is divided into classes. This aspect is very interesting to Marxist anthropologists because it helps in understanding how social classes were created and how mode of production was related to social organization. The important highlight of Marxist anthropology is that it studies culture from a historical perspective and accepts that culture and societies change over time. The most significant critique of Marxist anthropology is that it places too much emphasis on economy and status to assume one's cultural characteristics. Marxism is an anthropological approach which is based on the premises that human social life is a response to the practical problems of earthly existence. Other approaches, such as cultural ecology, argue that economy is not the only factor that determines cultural phenomena because there are so many other factors that determine cultural relevance. Another point of criticism is that conventionally, the Marxist approach focuses solely on the premises that all cultural characteristics are based on economic factors. There is also the concern that this approach tends to be a historical, which means that it cannot be applied to explain how something has come to be as it is today. Other scholars have rejected the central idea of Marxist theory of class struggle. They argue that functionalists would probably maintain that class stratification exists for a reason and all the classes perform functions to maintain the social order. Thank you for watching this presentation. Do like, subscribe, share, and leave your comments about this presentation or any other topics you would like to learn more about.